Hi, welcome to one of our episodes of Business Ahas. It's absolutely going to be exciting again today, as it usually is when I have somebody on that I'm friends with, also have worked with, and have I'm going to call it a phenomenal relationship over the course of the years. So this has actually started 18 years ago when I met Melissa originally, and I employed her actually. I got a job working for an organization, and I was the leader, and she worked for the organization leading marketing as a whole. And that's how I met her originally. And since then, she's evolved significantly as a leader. And now we work together professionally as well. She represents one of our nonprofits pro bono, so stopourStigma.org. Her and her company provide services for SOS absolutely for free. And we are incredibly indebted because of the value that we receive from being able to make a difference in people's lives. One healthcare provider at a time, and to help reduce suicide for firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. So, Melissa, gosh, it's great having you.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you that just thinking about SOS and how long we've been friends with each other and the evolution of our relationship. Yes, obviously, lots of life changes and professional changes.
Yes.
I think with professional changes comes opportunity and comes challenges.
Yep.
I'm actually kind of curious, actually, though, how did you actually start in the industry? Because how all too often people get degrees and their degree has nothing to do with what they do professionally. So how did you get your start in the world of marketing?
Yep. Well, it's actually PR. Okay, I'm going to be specific.
Okay, fair.
Because that's what my degree's in, and that's my passion.
Which is very different.
It is. PR is like a tactic of marketing, so I get why people, often combine them. And yeah, I own a PR agency, and I've been doing PR since I graduated college. I'm so fortunate that I somehow knew what I wanted to do, in college, and I did that thing, and it's been my thing this whole time. I feel so fortunate for that.
So your degree is in public relations.
It's in public relations.
So here I am talking. Everybody's degree is different. But you actually the opposite of that.
Yeah.
You actually went to school to do PR, and that's what you've loved as a passion and hasn't changed.
Well, no, back it up. I went to school to do magazine journalism.
Okay.
I got a full ride to Kent State. I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. I love the city. I've been here since I was 11, since 1994. I've seen it change and evolve. And I knew I had to go away to grow up. Got a full ride to Kent State in Ohio. They have an awesome journalism program, like one of the top in the country, surprisingly. And I went there because I wanted to be a magazine editor. The year was 2001. I was like, I'm going to move to New York. Magazines were still a thing. Print was still a thing. And they had a program just for that. So I went. I got through the first year. I really liked it, but it's all basic classes your first year. Second year, I had a professor. I had to take an intro to PR course. It was part of the curriculum. And I had a professor pull me aside. His name's Bill Sledzik. I adore him. He's retired now. And he was like, you know what? There's something here for you. You have a skill here, and I think you should pursue it. And frankly, no one had ever done that for me. And I did. I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't super, even though I knew I was a good writer, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted some kind of journalism career. PR's in the journalism school, so it fit. And taking that class, it was like mixing business and storytelling. It was like KPIs and press releases and earned media. I liked it. It was a great mixture.
So when Bill suggested this to you, kind of this light bulb went off to yourself.
Yeah, I liked it. I was like, okay, he thinks I'm good at it. I enjoyed it. Why not give it a go? I don't think at that time I was like, my career is going to be in PR, but I assumed if I had a degree in PR, I'd probably do PR. As I got further into it, it was so clear it was my calling. I mean, I ended up being a leader in our student organization for PR, did all the things. Internships, Chicago, back here, got my first job right after actually 3 job offers right after graduation.
Wow.
And I moved back to Scottsdale and worked for a PR agency.
Interesting. So let's back up the train one step. You said something in the very beginning. I had to move away to grow up.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm curious if you're going to give advice to a young human that is going into college and they're deciding on where to go to college. What's the importance, in your opinion, of the term move away to grow up now?
Yeah. Every kid's different, so I can only speak for me. But, I was so close to my mom and my dad. I mean, my dad had moved away, but my mom, and I just knew if I stayed here like all my friends that I'd be in the same social circle, doing the same things, going home on the weekends. because it was comfortable and
Mhm.
I wanted to throw myself into discomfort. I knew nobody in Ohio, not a single person. And I'm a little extroverted now, but like naturally I'm not. And so I pushed myself way out of my comfort zone to grow up. I hated every minute of it for the first 6 months. Came home at Christmas. I was like, I'm going to ASU. Like,
I'm leaving. I'm coming
yeah.
home.
And my dad was like, and my mom both were like, just give it a full year, 1 full year, and then you can decide. Of course, by the time spring break hit, I was like, I don't even want to come home. Had a boyfriend, had a sorority, I loved it.
It was all clicking at that point.
All clicked.
So your advice is everybody
needs to do what they need to do to grow up.
For them.
Yeah, and I think college is way more about the social experiment and the growing up and the learning than it is about the school.
Interesting. So every kid's different, but if you need that ability to grow up, moving away, going to a school away to grow up is an instant. You have to grow up in a sense. You have to be responsible.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's go back and record this. And so we'll go back and review this when we're all done.
Yeah.
And you can show your kids when they're 18.
I love it.
And they can say, no, you're not leaving.
I know. And then I'll be so devastated.
You're not leaving. You're not leaving. Well, Mom, you said this on the show.
I know.
Like, oh, no.
I know. I do. I think, though, I hope I push myself to make them go away.
Interesting. So if it wasn't for Bill who came to you and made that suggestion, do you think your road would be where it went today?
I mean, I'm a pretty big believer in like all paths lead to where you're supposed to be. So yeah, I would probably be in the same spot. Not sure I would have gotten there as efficiently.
Yeah, or maybe as quickly.
Yeah.
Because he saw something.
He totally did.
You know what that might have been?
He never told me. I mean, I'm an okay student. I can't say like I was never the best student, but I have energy. Like people constantly tell me that I have an energy, and I think I bring energy to things that I love. Mm-hmm. And so showing up with energy, I believe he saw like, I liked it and I was good at it and I could do it,
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. When did you actually realize in this vocation of PR that this is absolutely my calling? Was it then when you like realized that
No.
Okay. When was that? When was that time?
Yeah.
And you said, I am actually pretty freaking good at what I do.
Okay, so there was a moment actually. I worked for Carrie Martz. Do you know Carrie?
I do know Carrie.
Yeah. So that was my first job here in Scottsdale at the Martz agency. It doesn't exist anymore, but she was a force and she's really well known and she's real good. And I was a PR coordinator, the most entry level you can get. And I worked for someone, I was tasked with getting PR for the Mauna Lucia. It was the old La Posada Hotel, which you remember.
Yes.
It was just being demolished. It was my client, but I was the coordinator. I wasn't leading it. The client didn't know me. I just was behind the scenes working on it. And I was tasked with getting coverage. So I one day had an idea. I saw a little, like a column in the Arizona Republic. It was no more than 5 inches long, okay? And it was about a stat about spas. And it was very minimal, like not even a big story. And I saw it and I was like, I wonder if I could pitch something around this stat, around spas, and this new spa that's going to be built at the Mauna Lucia. So I wrote up a pitch, an email pitch to the reporter, and he really liked it. He ended up being an intern at the Republic because it was a teeny story he wrote, and it was just data focused. I gave him a great angle about the new spa. About 2 weeks later, Carrie Martz comes freaking out into the office. There is a 2-page full color spread in the middle of the Arizona Republic.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah. About the Mauna Lucia, it was originally then it was going to be a Sylvia Sapelli spa. It ended up totally changing. But regardless, it was all about the spa that was unveiling at the Mauna Lucia.
Did she have any idea that you had sent it in?
She knew. Well, no, she didn't, but my boss knew.
Okay.
Because I had to coordinate interviews. I had to provide photography.
Full 2-page spread.
And Carrie thought my boss did it. And she was like, Jessica, this is amazing. And Jessica, thankfully, was like, no, I didn't do this. This was Melissa. And I'm, 3-4 months into a new job making $23,000 a year. And Carrie pulls me into her office, her big corner office in this fancy building. And I just remember the feeling of like, okay, like that wasn't hard. And I could totally do this. And I really liked it.
Yeah. Interesting. So when that intern read what you pitched to him, he felt as though that was strong enough to write about it. And somebody in his organization decided to make it a 2-page spread.
Totally.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I'm going to back up one step.
Yeah.
You said when you left Kent, you had 3 job offers, and this is the one you picked.
Yeah.
Why?
I had one in Chicago for everything I do 100%, Jim. Like, I think you know this.
No.
So
Really?
if I interned, they offered me a job before I graduated in Chicago. I didn't want to move to Chicago. I did informational interviews while I was in college from Kent to Arizona because I wanted a job offer before I graduated. And I got both of the jobs. I got one with Michelle Olson, who's also amazing in PR here locally, and then one with Carrie. Both offered the same salary.
And Chicago too, you
And
said?
Chicago.
Interesting.
Chicago was off the table. I appreciated it, but I just knew I wanted to come back home to Arizona.
Gotcha.
So the other two I considered same salary. One was a very small agency.
Hmm.
One was a much bigger agency, and I wanted the big agency experience. So
Interesting.
I accepted it. Yeah.
Okay, so you said something else that you pitched the article to the intern for the intern to be able to think about, hey, this is going to be a potential great idea. You had no intent of him doing anything with it at all, even responding to you.
I did. I mean, I had an intent because the goal was to get him to write a story. I had no idea it'd be a spread. So I can't remember the specifics. I emailed him a pitch. I probably called and followed up because back then that's what you did.
Sure, picked up the phone.
Yeah. Because email was still it was pretty new for really 2001.
Wow.
It wasn't it wasn't all we did. We mostly called still. And so when I positioned the story to make his job easy. That's the key. Okay,
make it turnkey for him.
Yeah, here, this is brand new. No one's announced it yet. I saw you recently wrote a stat about, I think it was about spa growth in Arizona. I mean, it was relevant. What do you think about this? And he was like, it's really interesting. So it
Cool.
went from there. So yeah, I had an intention.
So when I asked you the question about what was that defining moment, realized, I really am good at this. That was it.
Right, that was
That
it.
was it. That one moment.
And then it evolved from there. I had a couple other jobs, had a couple pretty rough bosses, and I was given the opportunity to work for myself at 25 to start my own company. With the beautiful thing about starting a company at 25 is I had nothing to lose.
True.
So
Well, hang on a second. You said you worked for pretty bad bosses. I'm hoping I wasn't one of them.
you are not one of them. No. One in mind, I won't name names, but I had about 3 jobs before I started my own agency. And I'm grateful for those experiences because it gave me, I guess, not even the courage, just why not? My feeling going into starting my own business was why not? What do I have to lose? I had no kids. I had no mortgage. Oh, I had a mortgage. I had a house, but my mortgage was $700 a month. I mean, it's 2005 at this point, no, later, 2008. But still, I just didn't have fear. And so that the calling and the knowing I was good at PR kept evolving because every job I grew, I kept getting better. And then I had the courage to do my own thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, fast forward. Last big question.
Mhm.
That aha moment. That
Okay.
one time. So you think about this, how many years ago this was, and having a business partner and then not having a business partner and then having a brand change and having the best, my opinion, newspaper article, black and white with macaroons at my front doorstep I've ever seen in my entire life. So let's go back to that. What was that one thing now professionally where you'd say, you know what? That's probably the most significant thing that's ever happened to me in my entire career.
Okay. So my 40th birthday, I'm not going to lie. It was my 40th birthday. I had just a moment of, I am miserable in my life. I'm miserable in my life, but I'm very successful. And why am I so miserable in my life? And it wasn't just one day I woke up feeling miserable. It was a lot leading to that point of, how can I be in this position when I've taken myself here? I made this path and I'm so insanely miserable. And I decided at that moment that I didn't have to be miserable. And it related to my business, my business partnership at the time and the direction the business was going. It also related to my personal life and my marriage. So
this may or may not have anything to do with the other people. Could have everything to do with you.
Yeah.
And you put yourself there.
Totally.
You're responsible for that.
100, and I accepted it.
That's a big statement to make. Because everybody who's going through a divorce blames who?
The other person always.
And everybody's going through a business breakup blames who?
Mostly the other person. I don't blame myself. I was empowered to do the things I did. And I was empowered to exit the things I exited too, because I realized how miserable I was. I also realized life is short and I wanted to be very happy. So I think my aha moment was that moment, and the realization, like now, 2 years later, looking back at how insanely happy I am, that you're never stuck. It's never too late. You can never not unwind. It's always possible. And I honestly did not know that.
But how many people say, no, I can't do that? I have 2 kids at home.
A million people.
I have my business partner. I don't want to let this person down. I have all these employees.
I have bills. There's a million reasons.
Interesting. So if you are unhappy, water the grass underneath you first.
Yeah,
If that doesn't work, and it still gets brown again, water it some more. That doesn't work. Well, what do you do? What do you do to change that? So that aha for you was, you know what? I need to be in control of me, and I'm going to make a change.
100%.
So that was the aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happened?
So I changed.
Okay.
So I kind of have to back it up a little bit. Like, I owned an agency with a friend of mine, Alexis, and we are still friends for 15 years.
And she's incredible.
She's incredible.
Oh my gosh, we've had such good times together.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
We've had such good times together. Yeah.
And all three of us.
Yeah.
And we, started a business at 25. 15 years, grew it from nothing, just the two of us, all the way up to 40 employees. We owned a building. We own a building together, a multi-million-dollar marketing and PR agency. So we had evolved it to this big thing. All of a sudden, I woke up one day and it was big.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. And it's
a big deal.
It was a really big deal.
Yeah.
It was a really big deal to realize it's not what I wanted.
Okay.
Too. So in the growth of, it was called Serendipit, as you know, Serendipit Consulting, and it still exists today. Alexis runs that business. It got to a point where I lost the passion and the fuel because it was all about operations, all about overhead. I didn't get to deal with the clients as much anymore. I also realized that my core values, like, I'd grown into a fully baked adult person, and I had a value system that maybe I wasn't as strong about vocalizing when I was 25 or 30.
And at 40 you did.
Oh, at 40 I was like, this is me and you can't mess with it.
And you decided to communicate it with your business partner, Alexis, in what way?
In a very productive, friendly way. So when I realized this, I came to her and we had a conversation probably about 6 months before we actually transitioned out from working together. And I said to her, I have realized some things that I would like to change. I'm not happy in our current business partnership, and I'm not happy with the business today. And I don't think you are either. I'm not prepared to do anything today, but I wanted to tell you far in advance that in the next few months, I want to start thinking about starting my own PR agency that I own 100%.
So you had that conversation with her. It wasn't hard.
No.
Probably hard.
Oh, it was pretty. I prepared. It was hard, yeah.
But I think what you did, though, is you planted the seed.
Mm-hmm.
You, without contention, you wanted her to start thinking about what this could look like.
Yep.
Not tomorrow, not in a short period of time, but to really what it was going to look like for you. So for you, over the course of the years, you learned, correct me if I'm wrong, to communicate it differently to make sure that it was delivered the right way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. And also 15 years with someone, she was my longest marriage. Like, I was only actually married for 13 years. So we knew each other inside out. And I also knew what she'd be receptive to, what would hurt her feelings. So it was a relationship.
My longest marriage.
It was my longest marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was kind. I wasn't mean. But I'm also very straightforward and blunt, sometimes to a fault. I've been told to soften it. I'm an Aquarius. I can't help it. But I told her directly. I didn't sugarcoat it, but I said, I want to be friends. I want to maintain our friendship. I don't want you to feel like I'm pushing you out. I don't want to feel like I'm being pushed out, but I know what I want and I want to start working towards it. I want you to think about what you want. Let's come back together and talk about it. So we took time apart. We talked, she thought about it. I let her come back to me first. And, she told me what she wanted. We had more discussions and we ended in a really productive place that I think was really fair for both of us.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward.
Yep.
What is it today?
It's Proof Publicity. I am obsessed with my brand. The website's proofpragency.com. And
you're obsessed with your brand.
I'm obsessed with my brand because it's all me. I birthed it. Like it is my third child.
Fair.
But
you have a little bit of a bias.
Of course. I totally do. But Proof, here's why I love it. Because Proof, I've always struggled with the idea that public relations is hard to quantify. The ROI can be a little bit tricky. It's about brand awareness. It's not about like lead gen. If someone comes to me, they're like, I want 10 leads a month. I'm like, go do advertising. Like, I can't promise you that. I can promise you that the leads you get will pay a lot more attention to you and believe that what you're selling is what you're the best at or whatever, because I make you credible. I make you the authority.
How do you relay the term intrinsic value? I mean,
yeah.
The value isn't necessarily directly measured ROI from a dollar's perspective,
no.
But the intrinsic value, like I mentioned in the very beginning, the impact you've had on our nonprofit has been incredible.
Yeah.
Because we're not necessarily thinking about what is the ROI, we're thinking about impact.
What's the impact?
And guess what? You have created that impact for us.
Yep.
It's come out with a new calendar. It's been fantastic.
Yep.
The logo,
the storytelling,
the
branding. The TV segments, and just the awareness that we've generated for the nonprofit's amazing.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, last week we did 2 lives.
Yeah, live segments.
Channel 3 and Channel 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Channel 10 saw, wait a minute, the Me Too game, right?
Yeah, totally.
And
yeah.
So
but that's the name. That's why Proof. So Proof is all about like the proof is in the results. Like I'm not afraid to talk about measurement with my clients because they're hiring me to get to some goal. So I want to know what the goal is and I want to help them get there. So we have those conversations and the proof is in our results. Like we get results, period. And I feel really strong about it. And I've developed a brand promise that my clients are loving. It's that if you hire us, for a full retainer, we have some clients like, pro bono, although you still get an experienced person running your account, but every client gets a person who has a decade of experience running their account, because the worst thing that happens in an agency like I used to have is, and it's not always our fault. It just kind of happens as you grow. You pass it. Like you pass it to whoever's available. And it could be, I sold a client and I have 20 years experience and all of a sudden a 23-year-old is running the account. And that kind of sucks for the client most of the time.
Sure. So you've initiated a process that only focuses on quality, not quantity.
Totally.
And the quality of having a tenure professional that's in charge of the relationship with the client to make sure the experience is profound.
It's the experience I want to deliver to my clients.
And the impact is immeasurable.
Yep.
Fair.
And there's still coordinators who are training, who have less experience working on the accounts, but they're not the ones leading them. And so it's a smaller agency. We have 8 of us. I just hired 2 new people this January 3rd. They started, earlier this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I love it. I'm loving every day. And it's not easy. Like I'm not loving it because it's just like I'm swimming in money and it's all. No, I love it because it's not easy. And I get to work really hard every day. And I'm challenged and I'm trying new things and it's awesome.
And you have your sleeves rolled up now.
Yes. I'm like reinvigorated.
And you're 100% focused and your team is only on PR.
Only on PR.
So I think the understanding, the differentiator that public relations is different than marketing. I mean, it's in the marketing world.
Totally.
And I make the comment so often about football fields. If you don't belong on the football field, get off of the football field. Yep. If you don't belong on the football field that you're an expert in, but who thinks they're an expert in marketing? Everybody who owns a business.
Everybody.
And the answer is, I understand that might be a good idea. However, based upon the analysis that I've done or work that we did, you're able to explain to a client that it isn't always what they think being the best idea.
No.
This is not probably the best route to take. We can go that way.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the whole philosophy of the client is always right. Actually, that's just not true.
No, and my clients don't want me to just be the yes man. Like, and I'm not. They hired me because I'm not.
They want you to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
It is. And really just to back up, to help your listeners understand, like the difference between marketing and PR is, marketing is when you tell someone that you're great. PR is when someone else says that you're great.
So just the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So when that intern reached out and responded to you, he made you great
Totally.
because he read what you sent, which changed your trajectory and realizing that I can do this.
Totally.
And then when Carrie called you into this big corner fancy office and said, hey, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And you realized
She actually
what it
ran
was.
through the office holding up the 2-page spread. And it's cool because you're surrounded by other coordinators.
And you knew.
And I knew.
You knew it was there. You're like, whew, that was cool.
Totally. It
Awesome.
was a great moment. Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, of course.
It's just I had no idea that it was 40.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that people make decisions based upon birthdays.
Yeah.
You start realizing though, like I always tell people, when you turn 40, you can't be a kid anymore.
No, and I almost hate that it was that's the thing though, because like
but it was. That's okay.
Because I think some people are like, oh, midlife crisis. It's not. It's more like a decision to. It's a knowing that you only have a certain amount of more time in life. Like it could be one day, it could be 40 years, it could be 50 years, whatever. And like, why wait? That was the moment. Like that was it. And so it was 40, but like it really was just. I was comfortable.
Why wait? Why wait? And it's okay to make a change.
Yeah, like it's totally okay.
Fair.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Why wait? If you have the opportunity to have change, take advantage of it. If it wasn't for, in this case, and we've heard a lot about an instructor said to me, or when I walked into this classroom, or it's been fascinating to watch so many aha moments where it's that one person said something to you that changed your trajectory. That one thing. Or why do you straighten your hair? And then Latasha decides, I'm not going to ever straighten my hair again. But there's one thing that somebody says, and it's so impactful. But it's also interesting when you look back at those individuals, do they remember that fact that they had that much of an impact upon you? So I think Melissa's story is very unique, but also is it unique in the sense of that she made a decision to change. Why wait? I'm unhappy with the situation that I'm in. And her agency and her energy, having known her now for almost 20 years, I've seen a change. And I've seen a change in a human that is literally, you've seen kind of a light bulb going off. Yeah, people turn the light bulb on when they have to go to work and they smile, they go through all the normal motions, but actually you can see it on the inside. And you can see that she feels the way that she is. She isn't just putting this on because she has to. So I think if you think about this, when you have the ability to make a change, or you have the ability to not wait, my advice is think about it, process it, and then take the biggest advice that Melissa said. The biggest advice she said, do it the right way. Communicate it the right way. Tell the individual what you're wanting to achieve, whomever that might be, and then walk through it in a conversation. If it's a conversation, it should be received in a positive way, at least you hope. And at the end of the day, at least in this situation, both your personal life and your professional life, the outcome has been fantastic. And we all know it always isn't in that way. Everything isn't beautiful and smells like roses, but you're in charge a little bit of the control of the smell of that rose. Mm-hmm. And if you are in charge of it, at least a little bit, own it, be responsible for it, and handle it the right way. So on behalf of our entire team at Board Developer and Business Ahas, Bennett, obviously our Rift, our host for our events, and I got to come by, got some great new stuff on tap, and love to see you next time. Have a great day. Till next time. Take care. Bye.